Stanley had abandoned me countless times for his childhood sweetheart when he wanted to leave me again at our engagement banquet because of a phone call from that girl. I held his hand for the first time, pleading meekly, "Can't you stay and wait until we finish the ceremony?" The venue was filled with friends and family waiting for us to take the stage. Stanley was dressed in a pristine white suit, looking handsome and upright, but there was not a hint of the sweetness of an engagement on his face. His eyebrows furrowed with worry for another woman. Stanley impatiently loosened his tie. "Wife Tina is sick, I have to go and check on her. You know her health has always been poor." Always poor health? How can Tina, who is lively and eats well, be unwell every day? This excuse was incredibly lame, but it always worked like a charm on Stanley. I stubbornly held on to Stanley, unwilling to let go. "But how can you keep someone who wants to leave? Wife, be good and wait for me. I promise to make it up to you in the future." He decisively shook off my hand and walked away. Just like every time before, he used the promise of the future to placate me. But he didn't know we don't have a future anymore. I lost my memory at the engagement banquet, chasing after the runaway groom Stanley. I was hit by a speeding car. I remember everyone except him. Chapter 1. When I woke up, I found myself lying in the hospital. My whole body was wrapped up like a mummy, the doctor said. I had multiple abrasions on my body. Fortunately, none of them were serious. My parents stood by, seeing me in this state, and tears flowed down their faces. "That Stanley is really outrageous. How could he run away from the wedding like that? He has caused our girl to suffer like this." Luckily, nothing major happened. Otherwise, we would never let her off the hook. I lifted my eyes and looked blankly at the hospital's white ceiling. "Stanley, who is he?" Before I could figure it out, someone else came in. The person who entered was my parents' close friends, Uncle Smith and Aunt Smith. Aunt Smith saw me and tears started to flow. "Gil, I'm sorry. It's Aunt's fault for not teaching her son properly, otherwise he wouldn't have gone so far as to run away from the wedding." Uncle Smith held my hand. "Gil, don't worry. I will go back and give Stanley a good talking to and let out your frustration." "Stanley, it's Stanley again. They all say that Stanley is the one who caused me to end up like this, but who is he exactly? Why do I have no memories at all?" Seeing me silent and expressionless, my parents became anxious again. They kept asking me if I was in pain, if I was hungry, if anything was uncomfortable. Aunt Smith and the others started cursing Stanley continuously. I looked at Aunt Smith, who was endlessly scolding, and said, "Who is this Stanley you're talking about?" My question shocked everyone in the room. My mom was so frightened that she called the doctor over again to perform a brain examination. The final result was temporary amnesia caused by brain damage sustained in the accident. Upon hearing this conclusion, I blinked my eyes. Amnesia? But why do I remember everyone else yet I have forgotten Stanley? I suppose it's because he isn't important. Chapter 2. Stanley appeared on the second day of my hospitalization. He was brought over by the guilty Uncle Smith and Aunt Smith to give us some space. My parents and Aunt Smith voluntarily stepped out. He reluctantly walked in. Seeing me lying in the hospital bed covered in injuries, his brows furrowed impatiently, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. "Gil, what kind of trick are you playing now to deceive me into coming back? Not only did you turn yourself into this ghostly appearance, but you also pretended to have amnesia with my parents. You're really something." I lifted my head and looked at him. The person in front of me was undeniably handsome. That face could rival even a movie star, but the words coming out of this face were far from pleasant. He disdainfully said, "You're acting like a melodrama actress. No wonder Tina says you're the most scheming person behind everyone's back." I didn't believe it before, but now I see it clearly. "Do you know that Tina is also in the hospital? When she heard about your accident, she had a heart attack from worry. She's in the intensive care unit now. Her condition is much more serious than your injuries, and she needs my care more than you. It seems that this Tina holds much more importance in Stanley's heart than I do." "That works out perfectly. He's not important to me anyway. Otherwise, how could I have forgotten about him?" "Well then, go take care of her," I suggested. It seemed like Stanley didn't hear my words clearly. "What did you say?" I said. "Since you're so concerned about her, go take care of her. My parents are here. There's no need for someone else's help. This person really, even if he wanted to take care of me, I wouldn't want it. Who would willingly let a stranger take care of them? Someone else. I've become someone else." Stanley sneered. "Gil, I've had enough of your words. It's fine to be angry, but repeating it over and over again is going too far." I didn't understand his meaning. Someone who was insignificant in my memory. How am I suddenly someone else? Seeing me silent, Stanley's expression softened. He sat on my bed, wanting to hold my hand. The moment our skin touched, I pulled my hand away as if it was being electrocuted. His touch made me feel extremely uncomfortable. "What are you doing? Don't touch me." Stanley's face immediately turned dark and gloomy. "Gil, I've been giving you face now. You won't even let me touch your hand," is the next step, calling off the wedding. Chapter 3. I looked at Stanley with confusion. I heard them say that we never got engaged, right? Why would there be any need for a breakup then? Yes, according to my parents' account. Stanley left before the engagement ceremony even started, so we never actually got engaged. Let alone talk about breaking up. Now I have completely forgotten about him. We are strangers once again. Stanley's face grew even more unpleasant after my remarks. He looked at me deeply as if trying to find traces of acting on my face. But I genuinely forgot about him. I care even less about him now. What can he possibly see? I raised my head confidently, allowing Stanley to look at me however he pleased. Stanley gained nothing and admitted defeat. He sighed, saying, "Darling, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have disregarded your feelings and left in the middle of the engagement banquet. I also know that you pretended to have amnesia to make me regret and feel sad, but what can I do? Tina has no one else but me. Her health is not good, and if she falls ill, who will take care of her? Do you want me to ignore someone's life for the sake of our engagement banquet? If something really happens, if a life is involved between us, will we still be happy in the future?" Listening to Stanley's firm words, I could only find it laughable. Although I forgot about him, forgot about what happened between us, but I deeply despise this person. He truly knows how to put a positive spin on himself. What's this about being afraid to continue the engagement ceremony, fearing it might endanger someone's life? Is he a doctor? If he leaves, will her illness magically disappear? Can't he call for emergency assistance? Is he more effective than an ambulance? Stanley didn't sense my change in emotions and thought he had convinced me. He continued to pour fuel on the fire. "Darling, I know you're not that selfish. You will forgive me this time, right? When you get better, we'll have another engagement ceremony, even grander than before, okay?" His words made me incredibly nauseous. Another engagement ceremony? How confident is he that I would agree? I shook my head. No, not happening. I didn't want to continue entangling myself with a man whose mind is so clouded. Stanley froze. "What did you say?" I stared at him and said each word deliberately. I said, "No, I don't know you, and I don't want to continue the engagement with you." Stanley's face darkened inch by inch. He stood up disappointed and looked at me. "Gil, I always thought you were a broad-minded girl, which is why I wholeheartedly chose to be with you, but I didn't expect you to be so jealous and full of bitterness. What's with your grudge against Tina? She's been sick since childhood, and I need to take care of her. You knew this from the beginning of our relationship, didn't you?" Damn, he had this attitude from the beginning of our relationship. Then why did I endure it if my hand wasn't hurting? I would have wanted to slap my past foolish self. Stanley kept talking to himself. "Gil, whether you're pretending to have amnesia or using the car accident as a ploy, I can't ignore Tina no matter what. I'm leaving now. Tina could have an emergency at any moment. When you thought things through and stopped being stubborn, I'll come back to find you." After saying that, Stanley turned around and left. I heard Stanley's parents and Stanley erupt in another intense argument at the door. Aunt Smith and the others wanted Stanley to take care of me, but Stanley insisted on taking care of Tina. I pulled the blanket over myself and hid inside. I didn't want to hear the annoying voices outside. If my leg didn't hurt, I really wanted to go out and talk to Aunt Smith and the others. Let Stanley take care of Tina if he wants to. I don't need his care anyway. Having a stranger take care of me, just the thought of it makes me feel uncomfortable. Chapter 4. I drifted off to sleep in a daze. When I woke up again, my mother was looking at me with a worried expression. Seeing me looking so listless, she sighed and said, "I don't know what's gotten into Stanley this time. He's turned into this state. Just now Aunt Smith was pressuring him to stay and take care of you, but he refused and insisted on going to see that illegitimate child of the Jones family. But when you had a high fever that year and were unconscious for 3 days and nights, both your father and I happened to be abroad on business, and he stayed by your side, never leaving for a moment, taking care of you." I stared at the chandelier on the ceiling and casually said, "Oh, that happened too?" My mother nodded. "Yes, back then he was really good to you. After I found out about that, I specifically hired a highly skilled nurse to take care of you, but he still wasn't reassured and insisted on personally looking after you. In the end, when you recovered, he fell ill. Isn't he foolish?" "He really is quite foolish. We have wealth and power in our family. When we're sick, with just one phone call, we can have a group of private doctors and high-level nurses come and provide the most attentive care. Why did he make himself look so miserable?" My mother saw me nodding and said in surprise, surprised. Gil, have you really forgotten about Stanley? You don't remember anything at all? I looked at my mother, who had a worried expression, so she also thought I was pretending. After all, I remember everyone except for Stanley. This kind of amnesia is indeed a bit strange. I looked at my mother and said seriously, Mom, I really don't remember Stanley. He's a complete stranger to me. I just met him earlier and I found out that he's not only arrogant, but also not very bright. Please don't mention him in front of me anymore. Upon hearing me say this, my mother sighed and nodded. All right, if you don't like it, I won't mention it, but Gil, you have to take good care of yourself and get better soon, okay? Of course I have to get better soon. I can't go against my own body for someone who has nothing to do with me. That would be truly unfair to myself. Chapter 5. My injury looked scary, but it wasn't actually serious. After being observed in the hospital for 4 days, the doctor discharged me. On the day of my discharge, I happened to run into Stanley and Tina. I didn't expect that they were in the same hospital as me. Tina was wearing a patient gown and Stanley was carefully supporting her. She had a dependent look, practically clinging to Stanley. It seemed strange no matter how I looked at it when they saw me. Both of them had a momentary awkward expression. Unlike Stanley, I remembered Tina. She was the illegitimate daughter of the Jones family. After her biological mother passed away, she was brought back to the Jones family at the age of 3, but the Jones family had too many daughters. She wasn't valued at all in that household. In my memory, she didn't talk much, she didn't leave much of an impression. I thought about it and realized that I wasn't really familiar with them, so there was no need for any greetings. I prepared to walk around them. But just as I took a few steps, an incredulous voice came from behind me. Gil, how dare you ignore me? I turned around puzzled. Are we close? Why should I acknowledge you? Stanley was speechless, choked up by my response. He gritted his teeth and glared at me fiercely. It seemed like I was the heartless woman in the story. Stanley opened his mouth about to say something. Suddenly Tina started coughing violently. Stanley immediately became nervous and went over to pat her back. The way he looked at her, I can't even describe how tender it was. I watched their harmonious interaction and figured they didn't have time for me anymore. I lifted my foot ready to leave, but I was stopped by a voice. This time it was Tina who spoke. Gil, I'm sorry. Tina held her chest and said, I know it's all because of my useless body that you and Stanley haven't gotten engaged. But you know, besides Stanley, I don't have any other friends. Please don't blame Stanley. If you want to blame someone, blame me. I'm truly despicable. If you want to hit or scold me, go ahead, but please don't take Stanley away from me. He's the only friend I can rely on. If even he ignores me, I don't know how I'll go on living. As Tina grew up, her days in the Jones family became increasingly difficult. No wonder she clung to Stanley, the heir of the Smith family. I opened my mouth about to reassure her. Not only would I not take Stanley away from her, but I would also bless them to grow old together, united forever. But before I could speak, Stanley said with concern, Tina, no one can take me away from you. He then looked at me warningly. Not even Gil. Upon hearing this, I saw Tina's expression visibly brighten. In her eyes there was a hint of triumph, provocation when she looked at me. But what was there to be triumphant about? What was there to provoke? I hardly even remembered Stanley. How he was or what he did had nothing to do with me. I met Tina's gaze directly, causing her to pause for a moment. Since we're friends, helping each other is only natural. You can rest assured that I won't stand in the way of Stanley being with you. You're sick and need rest, so let him take care of you. As soon as I finished speaking, Tina's expression turned joyful. She looked at Stanley with delight, but Stanley didn't seem as happy as she did. He bit his lip, his face filled with frustration as he glared at me. It seemed like he was angry at my magnanimity. But isn't what he wanted for me to not care anymore? As Stanley's expression worsened, Tina said with a hint of grievance, Gil, I knew you're still blaming me, still saying hurtful things. Please, can you forgive me? Tina's words made Stanley suddenly realize something. He looked at me as if he had seen through me and said, Gil, you've gone too far. No matter how jealous or resentful you are, there should be a limit. Do you not realize that Tina is currently a patient and can't handle any more stress? Please leave. Don't be in our sight. After saying that, Stanley supported Tina and walked away. As I watched their backs, I couldn't help but find it amusing. It was Stanley who didn't want me to leave just a moment ago. Now he was eager for me to go. But Stanley, I'm not a dog that comes running at your beck and call. After leaving this time, I only want to never see you again. Chapter 6. I had a blast during my days of rest at home. I had endless snacks to eat and countless variety shows and movies to watch. When I got bored, I would play some online games. Once my health improved a bit, my parents arranged for me to go abroad for further treatment. I chose an island country to experience the sunshine and beaches. Until my body was covered in a bronze tan, I still felt unsatisfied. Only then did I return home full of lingering joy. Upon my arrival, my parents specially prepared a welcoming feast for me. Aunt Smith and Uncle Smith were also present at the banquet. They apologized to me and expressed their regrets. I understood their intentions intentions. Over the years our family had provided numerous projects for the Smith family. They were afraid that I would be angry with Stanley, causing a rupture in the financial ties between our families, but I am not someone who confuses personal matters with business. Moreover, I don't even remember who Stanley is anymore. How could I be angry with someone I don't even recall? I raised my glass and said to Uncle Smith, there won't be any issues with the cooperation between our families. I assure you. Uncle Smith's face brightened. What about Stanley? You haven't contacted him during this time. I can tell he regrets it now. Can you give him a chance? Regret? I didn't think so. Just a moment ago I saw Stanley in Tina's social media post making porridge for her. That sight of him washing his hands and cooking soup almost moved me. I smiled lightly and said, Uncle Smith, as you know, I have amnesia. I've forgotten who Stanley is. You don't need to mention him to me anymore. As I finished speaking, Uncle Smith's face turned pale and defeated. I understand, Gil. It's that boy Stanley's own misfortune. He doesn't deserve you. Chapter 7. After the welcoming feast, I thought I would never have any interaction with Stanley again. But that very night I received a call from Stanley. Gil, I gave you a month of cold treatment to reflect, but how can you still behave like this? What did you mean by what you said to my parents today? You're just angry that I didn't attend your welcoming feast, right? Tina had a stomach ache and suddenly wanted to eat the millet porridge I made for her, so I couldn't make it. Her heart condition is delicate, and she needs proper care. Can't you stop being so petty? Call my parents right now and explain yourself if you're really planning to cut me off. Don't blame me for never speaking to you again. Never speaking to me again? Huh, who cares? Well then, never speak to me again. Gil, are you done yet? I cut off Stanley's furious voice. Who has the patience to listen to his nonsense? He's not anyone to me. He intentionally ignored me for a month, making me reflect on my own. Why is he so confident? Without hesitation I proceeded to block him completely. I don't want this jerk to pollute my contact list. Chapter 8. After returning, I didn't rush to go back to work at my family's company. My parents were scared by my recent accident. They wanted me to stay at home and continue to recover for a while. Feeling bored at home, I picked up my phone and called my best friend. In no time Lucy arrived in her flashy Lamborghini. Well, Gil, it seems like you really forgot about Stanley. If you dare to contact me, Lucy exclaimed. I was taken aback. What do you mean? Lucy laughed and said, you really forgot, huh? From Lucy's description I came to know the truth. Ever since I started dating Stanley, he felt that the people in my previous circle were not ambitious enough and forbade me from hanging out with them, so I haven't been in contact with them for 3 years. Hearing this I was dumbfounded. Was I under some kind of spell? Before, not ambitious. Although Lucy and her friends are from affluent families, they are also actively involved in their own businesses. Where is the lack of ambition? Seeing my reaction, Lucy defended me, saying, it's good that you forgot. I always knew you and Stanley wouldn't last. That illegitimate daughter from the Jones family, she knows she'll never get ahead on her own, so she clings on to Stanley. Unfortunately he falls for it and has no sense of boundaries. Since they're so inseparable, let them be together. I nodded. You're right, I have already let them be together. Chapter 9. Lucy patted the passenger seat. Get in, I'll take you to attend a class reunion. I wasn't very interested. A class reunion? What's so fun about that? Lucy blinked, laughing. Of course it's fun. I heard that Tyler, the campus heartthrob, will be there. He's back from abroad. Tyler, wasn't he supposed to have settled overseas? He actually came back. Seeing that I didn't respond, Lucy added, he's the other one who was called the school's most handsome, along with Stanley back in college. You forgot about Stanley? Fine, but did you forget about him too? I smiled. I didn't forget. How could I forget? He was the most striking figure in the library, the shining presence in the debate competition. Tyler, the most special presence in the hearts of us college girls. Not only was he good looking, he was also incredibly intelligent. Intelligent is one thing, but he was also so hardworking. He was the mythical figure of our school. Perfect scores in every subject, amazing athletic achievements as well. What's even more astonishing is that he had a flair for the arts. He played the piano with such enchantment in my heart. He was like an unattainable flower on a high peak, to be admired from afar but not to be profaned. After graduating, he went abroad for further studies. The hearts of the female alumni shattered. I never thought that after so many years I would be able to see him again. Hearing that he would be there, my heart couldn't help but leap with joy. I really wanted to see what he has become now. He must have become even more outstanding. Let's go see. Chapter 10. The class reunion turned out to be much bigger than I had imagined. It was practically an alumni gathering. Many of the students from our university had become successful individuals. Someone had even rented out a 5-star hotel as the venue for this class reunion. Lucy grabbed my hand and rushed inside. Come on, they said. Tyler will be performing on the piano later. Lucy dragged me along and then suddenly stopped in her tracks. I raised my eyebrows in confusion. What's wrong, Lucy? Lucy forced a laugh. Oh, nothing, it's just that I didn't expect Stanley to come as well. And he brought Tina with him. What bad luck. I looked ahead and indeed saw Stanley, and there was Tina looking up at him from below the stage. Lucy said, it turns out that today, besides inviting Tyler to perform on the piano, they also invited Stanley to perform a solo dance. This class reunion is quite interesting, gathering the two former heartthrobs. As the music started playing, Stanley began to dance gracefully. He was shining on the stage. After he finished his dance, the crowd erupted in enthusiastic applause. Lucy said these people really know how to do it. They specifically invited Stanley to perform the opening dance. And now the atmosphere is heated up. Well, Stanley is not bad actually, he just has poor taste after Stanley's solo dance. Lucy and I looked around but couldn't find Tyler. So we decided to find a table and sit down for dinner, but before we could even sit down we bumped into Stanley and Tina, who were closely following him. He saw me and his eyes lit up. Gil, are you here to find me by any chance? I knew you couldn't forget about me. Chapter 11. Tina stood behind Stanley looking at me with a guarded expression. I found it extremely boring. Why were these people so full of themselves? I coldly turned my head away. I'm not familiar with you, so why would I come to see you? In fact, I came to see him. I pointed at the person playing the piano on stage, his slender fingers pressing down on the keys. Beautiful music flowed out from it. After 5 years I saw Tyler again. He was still so wonderful, elegant and noble, just like I had imagined. Gil, why are you still being stubborn with me? You're not even acquainted with Tyler. Do you really need to use him as an excuse to confront me? Stanley bit his lip and looked at me with a sense of grievance. I shook my head. I'm not being stubborn with you, Stanley. We really don't know each other, and I hope you won't bother me anymore. Lucy chimed in beside me. Exactly, stop clinging on to my best friend right now. She's not familiar with you. Stanley's expression twisted. Gil, are you really going to embarrass me like this? I was wrong about the engagement banquet, but I've already apologized to you. Why do you keep holding on to it? Tina looked at Stanley's devastated state. She stood in front of him in a protective stance. Gil, if you want to blame someone, blame me. It was wrong of me to stand in your way and be the villain. You can punish me however you want, just please stop tormenting Stanley. These two people, do they have a problem? Why are they bothering me? I couldn't bear it any longer and said, I've already told you I haven't been tormenting him because I don't even know him. We're not acquainted at all. You two can do whatever you want. Just don't come in front of me and be a nuisance. My words completely shattered Stanley. He angrily said, fine, great, Gil, you're really something. If you don't know me, then you don't know me. I don't know you either. It's better if you never come looking for me again, so I won't look down on you. After saying that, he grabbed Tina's hand and walked away. Lucy watched their backs and clicked her tongue in amazement. Stanley thought you were just having a disagreement. Gil, maybe he never believed that you truly forgot about him. I looked at Tyler shining in the crowd and casually said, who cares? Yeah, who would want to deal with him? Let him think whatever he wants. He has nothing to do with me anymore. Chapter 12. The class reunion was just a formality after Tyler finished his performance. The reunion lost its meaning to me as a rarity. Elite Tyler was surrounded by many people. Lucy nudged me and asked if I wanted to go over and say hello. I shook my head. We're not even acquaintances. How could I casually say hello to Tyler, the godlike figure? I was just a passerby looking up to him. Speaking to him or even trying to establish a connection with him was something I wouldn't dare to imagine Lucy is going. So after spending some time with me, she went to play with familiar classmates. I sat in the corner quietly drinking my wine. Stanley, as if intentionally putting on a show for me, sat nearby with Tina speaking intimately. When Stanley's joyful laughter reached me again, I put down my glass, wanting to leave this place. Perhaps I shouldn't have come here today. It's too boring. As I was about to get up, a pleasant voice came from above me. May I sit here? This voice sounded somewhat familiar. I looked up and saw the owner of the voice. Tyler looked at me with a smile softening his cold demeanor. Of course, in that moment I didn't know where to put my hands and feet. I didn't expect Tyler to come back and initiate a conversation with me. Gil, why didn't you come over to say hello earlier? Did you forget about me? I quickly shook my head. Who could forget the name of the godlike Tyler? I just didn't know that you knew my name. Tyler smiled gracefully. Of course I know you, Gil, from the economics department. We used to see each other often at the library. I remembered back then I did see Tyler frequently at the library. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but he always sat not too far from me. But he seemed so aloof I never dared to say hello to him. Back then I noticed that you liked reading novels in the library, especially Edgar Allan Poe detective stories. So have you become a Sherlock Holmes now? Tyler's teasing quickly brought me back to my teenage years. It was true that I loved reading various detective novels back then, analyzing the intricacies of the cases. I thought it was just my little hobby, but it turned out he had noticed. Unconsciously I felt that our distance had narrowed significantly. He was no longer the distant godlike figure, but the handsome prince sitting in the corner of the library. I actually didn't like going to the library, but Tyler's persistence kept motivating me. I thought if someone as excellent as him was still working so hard, why shouldn't I make the most of my time and strive as well? Shared memories brought the two of us closer. I really liked you back then, so serious and diligent, Tyler said to me. I smiled. Actually, I should be saying that to him. He was the most serious and diligent person in the entire library. If it weren't for seeing him, I wouldn't have maintained my self-discipline. I thought to myself, you're so outstanding, yet you're still striving. I said, how could I be lazy? Upon hearing my words, Tyler became ecstatic. He exclaimed, Gil, so that's how it was. Do you know, I thought the same way. I saw you going every day, and I couldn't bring myself to slack off either. Who would have thought we were encouraging each other? In that moment we looked at each other and laughed. It turns out that we were both striving for each other. back. Then what a strange fate this is. Suddenly Tyler exclaimed. I quickly looked behind him and saw Stanley with a grim look on his face holding an empty wine glass. He had intentionally spilled red wine on Tyler. I was furious. Stanley, what are you doing? Stanley's eyes turned red. Gil, I was wrong. Come back with me, please. I won't leave you for someone else again. I looked at Stanley coldly. You should be apologizing to Tyler, not me. How could you pour wine on someone else? Stanley clenched his teeth and refused to apologize. Tyler, do you know that Gil is my fiancé? What do you mean by getting close to her like this? Have you no shame? Tyler elegantly stood up, casually patting the wine stain on his clothes. Then he said to Stanley, fiancé, that means we're not married, so I have the right to pursue Gil. You dare? As soon as these words came out, Stanley seemed like a lit explosive. He reached out his hand and was about to slap Tyler's face. I quickly grabbed Stanley's hand. I looked at him with disgust. Stanley, have you gone mad? Are you really insane? Let me say it one last time. I don't know you. I truly don't know you at all. I am not your fiancé, and we have never been engaged. Please stop bothering me. I have absolutely no feelings for you now. You have left such a terrible impression on me. Worse than a complete stranger. Upon hearing my words, Stanley seemed struck by lightning. His whole body trembled inexplicably. He stared at me in panic. It was as if he finally realized that my amnesia was real and that he was about to lose me completely. Chapter 13. Stanley couldn't bear the blow and hastily left the scene. Tina, who had been following him all along, tried to support him, but he forcefully pushed her away. However, she wasn't saddened by it and persistently followed him. As they left, curious eyes fell upon Tyler and me. I didn't want to be treated like a monkey, so I took the initiative and said to Tyler, do you want me to take you back to the hotel? Tyler smiled warmly and said I would be delighted. I dropped Tyler off at the entrance of his hotel. He didn't get out of the car but looked at me seriously. Gil, what I said earlier was true. I was taken aback. What did you say? Tyler's gaze became shy for a moment, then he looked at me firmly and said, I mean that I want to pursue you. Gil, I like you coming back this time. I realized that the youthful excitement is still there. So Gil, I hope you'll allow me to pursue you. As I looked into his eyes, I could see a reflection full of myself. It seemed like this person only had me in his eyes. Well, maybe I could give it a try. Almost involuntarily I nodded. The eyes of this handsome man suddenly lit up like the morning stars. He leaned in and excitedly planted a gentle kiss on my cheek. At the moment our skin touched, I felt my heart skip a beat. Gil, forgive me. I'm just so happy. You have to keep your phone accessible because I'm going to pursue you from now on. Chapter 14. Tyler is definitely a man of action. In the following days he prepared countless activities for me: breakfast in the morning, lunch dates, goodnight moments in the evening. Every little romantic gesture between a couple played out between us, and these were experiences that I had never had in my previous life. I realized for the first time that being favored by someone, being loved so wholeheartedly, was truly wonderful. Falling in love with Tyler wasn't difficult. Someone like him was meant to be loved by others, and as the lucky one who he had fallen in love with, I couldn't escape his web of affection. Soon enough I brought him home. My parents adored Tyler the moment they saw him. Smiles stretched across their faces throughout the meal. They warmly greeted Tyler with various offerings. Tyler, this beef is delicious. Try it. And these prawns are great too. Have some more. And this red wine is from your uncle's collection. Give it a taste. Tyler was being fed all sorts of food, but his smile never wavered after finishing the meal. I took Tyler for a walk outside the villa. Holding Tyler's hand, I asked, were you scared by my parents' enthusiasm earlier? Tyler shook his head. Not at all. I loved it. Gil, that's probably what home feels like. I think your parents and mine will get along well. They're both such warm-hearted people. I see. Perhaps it's time to arrange a meeting between our parents. As soon as I voiced my thoughts, Tyler seemed a bit at a loss. I loved his flustered state so much that I couldn't help but give him a kiss. The atmosphere was so beautiful and intoxicating, but there are always people who love to cause trouble. Gil, Tyler, a voice of shock came from the opposite side. Are you two really together? Tyler, you have no shame. I turned my head and met Stanley's resentful gaze. I furrowed my brows. What are you shouting about? Who are you, and how dare you come here? An insult, my boyfriend. Stanley stumbled for a moment, then he burst out, I'm your fiancé. I'm Stanley. How can you really forget about me? How can you allow just any man to come between us? I scoffed. And who says I can't forget about you? Stanley, I warn you, don't come and disturb my life anymore. And furthermore, Tyler is not just any man, he is my beloved. I tightly held Tyler's hand as if I were holding the whole world. Stanley suddenly burst into laughter. He stared intently at the hand that Tyler and I were holding. Good, very good. Gil, you certainly are something. Well, I hope you never remember me and never have any regrets. I smiled calmly. Of course I won't have any regrets. Tyler and I are getting engaged next month. If you don't mind, you're welcome to attend. Stanley's lips turned pale in an instant and he spoke with determination. Then congratulations in advance to both of you, but I may not have the time to attend because I'm also getting engaged to Tina. Oh well, congratulations to you too. Stanley seemed stung by my congratulations, stumbled for a moment and then turned and walked away. Chapter 15. I didn't lie. I really do want to build a family with Tyler. I chose a beautiful and sunny day and we made our engagement official. Then Tyler's parents flew back from from overseas. Just as he had mentioned, both sets of parents got along very well. Just as he had predicted during the engagement ceremony, Tyler walked towards me in a pristine white suit. We exchanged our marriage vows together. He tightly held my hand as if never wanting to let go. During the middle of the engagement ceremony, I thought I saw Stanley's parents. Curiously, I asked Lucy beside me, didn't Stanley say he was getting engaged today too? Why aren't his parents here? Lucy scoffed. Stanley is out of his mind. I don't know what he sees in that woman. What can she do besides pretending to be sick all the time? She's just a discarded child from the Jones family. Stanley insisted on marrying her, and now the Smith family has kicked him out. Well, the Smith family has more than just him as a son. Their second son is studying abroad and will be back soon. I nodded in understanding. So that's how it is. Seems like everyone in the Smith family except for Stanley has their head screwed on right. Tina, that cunning and calculating woman, is definitely not a good choice as a daughter-in-law. I really don't understand how a good family like the Smiths could raise such a foolish person like Stanley, but those things aren't my concern. After all, I have a handsome guy by my side. I don't have any thoughts to spare for a stranger. Chapter 16. We got married on the 3rd month of our engagement. It seems like Stanley was trying to keep up with us. He also got married on the same day as us. Lucy told me all of this, but I didn't have the mind to pay attention to him. After our wedding, we went on a month-long vacation in the Maldives. Once our vacation was over, Tyler and I went abroad together again. Tyler is very capable at his job. After discussing with both our families, we decided to open a branch of our company overseas to earn money from foreigners. As a result, Tyler and I have been living abroad ever since. When we returned to our home country again, it was already 3 years later. By then we were holding a cute little girl in our arms. Upon returning home, Lucy rushed over right away. Let me see my niece. Wow, she's so adorable. Lucy gave her a big golden ingot as a gift. Tacky, but the sentiment is genuine. When Tyler took the child to play, Lucy leaned in close to my ear and whispered mysteriously, "You know what? Stanley and Tina got divorced." I was surprised and asked Tina was willing to divorce him. Lucy chuckled. "Ben, you don't know, that woman is incredibly materialistic. She always thought that the Smith family kicking Stanley out was just a joke, that once they cooled down they would let Stanley come back. But who knew they were dead serious? Stanley lost all his rights in the company. His cards were cancelled. He couldn't even take advantage of a single penny from the family. He had to go out and work to earn money for their living expenses. She only held on for a year before she couldn't take it anymore and initiated the divorce. At the time of the divorce, Stanley almost went crazy. He said that he lost you for Tina. How could she not want him? But Tina said that if it wasn't for her being the Smith family's eldest son's wife, she wouldn't even bother with him. He's nothing. I chuckled. That's her true nature indeed. Lucy nodded. That's right, that woman has always been so materialistic. It's just that Stanley is too foolish to see through it. What kind of person is Mrs. Jones? Such a ruthless woman, yet she didn't manage to kill her. Can she really be a simple, sickly child? Stanley is just foolish. You don't know, but they had a miserable time after the divorce. I curiously asked what happened. Lucy shook her head off. Stanley's heart was truly broken. After several blows, he was completely ruined. On the day they finalized the divorce papers, Stanley drove his car and crashed into Tina. I gasped. Did she die? No, fortunately she didn't die, but she was left disabled. Both legs completely paralyzed. You tell me, is that not tragic? Indeed, that is truly tragic. She wanted to climb the social ladder but failed and ended up like this. Tina must be regretting it now. And what about Stanley? Lucy clicked her tongue. Him, if he intentionally harmed someone and was driving under the influence, he's definitely done for. Charged with intentional injury and DUI. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. The Smith family was so angry that they said they would disown Stanley. It's truly disgraceful. What was he thinking? He was such a shining person back then, one of our college heartthrobs. How did he end up like this? Yeah, how did it come to this? I also can't understand. After all, I don't know him. He's just a strange stranger. Perhaps it was his own choice. Chapter 17. At night, after soothing our sweet daughter to sleep, I turned over and nestled myself in Tyler's embrace. Tyler seemed a bit uncomfortable. Don't, our daughter is right there. I laughed. I absolutely adore his shy demeanor. Just a hug, nothing more. Tyler also laughed. What did you and Lucy talk about during the day? I buried myself deeper in his embrace. I told her that having you is wonderful. Tyler, choosing you is the best decision I've ever made. Yes, I dare not imagine how much misfortune I would have encountered in this lifetime if I had chosen someone else. Fortunately, I chose him. Tyler hugged me back and whispered softly, wife, I feel the same way.